From the Trichomes.com studios in Southern California, it's time for your Morning Buzz. We bring you late-breaking news that keeps you up to date with what's happening in the cannabis industry.
All right. Hey, happy Friday. Good morning. It's welcome to the Morning Buzz. It's Friday, May 20th. Here are your top cannabis headlines. Delta 8 THC products are federally legal, just like hemp, appeal court rules. Next up, we've got the FDA Commissioner, Robert Califf, says he's committed to finding a path forward for CBD. We've got a couple articles about that. And last but not least, hey, we've got Dr. Oz in the headline saying slamming efforts to legalize marijuana, claiming it'll make people not want to work. And we're definitely going to get to that. So first up, we've got Delta 8 THC products are federally legal, just like hemp, appeal court rules. The federal legalization of hemp through the 2018 Farm Bill Act removed restrictions on a wide range of molecules produced by the cannabis plant, including a psychoactive cannabinoid Delta 8 THC. A panel of U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit wrote in an opinion published Thursday that products containing D8 THC are generally legal because federal law defines hemp as any part of the cannabis plant, including all derivatives, extracts, and cannabinoids that contain less than 0.3% Delta 9 THC by weight. The law, the court said in the 3-0 rule, is silent with regard to D8 THC. Current cultivation and manufacturing techniques, however, allow for so-called minor cannabinoids to be concentrated from hemp plant and refined into consumer products. And D8 THC products have surged in popularity in the recent years, especially in states where marijuana remains illegal. To go into Delta 8 THC, like its most famous counterpart, D8 Delta 8 THC has psychoactive properties. Proponents say that the experience is generally more subdued and has gentler side effects than D9 THC. Health officials and even some advocates of marijuana legalization, however, say that the far less is known about the health impacts and potential risks of Delta 8 THC. So, the Ninth Circuit panel, for its part, noted that although D8 THC has psychoactive and intoxicating effects, it falls within the federal law's definition of hemp and therefore is legal. Regardless of the wisdom of legalizing Delta 8 THC product, this court will not substitute its own policy judgment for that of Congress, Judge D. Michael Fisher wrote for the 3-judge panel, which also included Judges Andrew Kleinfeld and Mark Bennett. All three were appointed by Republican presidents. If lawmakers inadvertently created a loophole that didn't intend to legalize psychoactive substances such as Delta 8 THC, Fisher said, then it's Congress that needs to fix its mistake. Let's see here. So we'll get into this, but essentially the Ninth Circuit ruling stems from a dispute over alleged trademark and copyright infringement that hinged on Delta 8 THC legality. So based upon what they know from what was handed down from Congress, they're saying essentially in this trademark suit that, well, for all intents and purposes, Delta 8 is legal based upon the Hemp Act. So let's go on to the next story here. We'll come back to that because that's actually some pretty big news. Alongside of that, you have what happened earlier this week, where basically there's FDA hearing, and the FDA Commissioner, Robert Califf, says he's committed to finding a path forward for CBD. This was covered by Cannabis Wire and Marijuana Moment, and we'll get over to Marijuana Moments here in a minute. Let's see, there are signs that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration is set to make meaningful progress on CBD or cannabidiol. The agency has been tasked with crafting rules for CBD products ever since the 2018 Farm Bill legalized hemp, which is defined as cannabis plants containing 0.3 THC or less. CBD is just one of the many compounds that can be derived from the cannabis plant, which are also known as cannabinoids. Let's see. However, The FDA's new commissioner, Robert Ratcliffe, said on Thursday that he's committed to doing so and getting new rules for that. His comments came during a hearing on the FDA's FY 2023 budget held by the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Agriculture, Rural Development, Food and Drug Administration, and other related agencies. Excuse me. Um, let's see. Since the legalization of hemp and hemp products was made several years ago, I believe we're still waiting on the FDA for some action to be taken, and that currently the industry is in a state of uncertainty because of no direction. Washington Representative Dan Newhouse said before an update for the FDA's work. Caliph first responded by commenting on the amazing plethora of derivatives of the cannabis plant, calling it quite profound and astounding. He then noted that the FDA's work to date had been focused on research to assess risks. We've talked about this before on this channel. Um, he goes on to say, I'm very committed to taking a path on this. And just to put a marker down, I don't think that the current authorities we have on the food side or the drug side necessarily give us what we need to have to get the right pathways forward. We're going to have to come up with something new. What's the FDA's plan to clarify CBD? What is the FDA's plan to clarify CBD could possibly be regulated as a food or food additive? And is there any timeline? Wisconsin Representative Mark Pokin asked. Let's see. Caliph answered with, the research so far has shown that there are some risks with CBD, and we're going to need a different pathway than just a standard food pathway. Caliph said, I told you, and I really mean it, I'm committed to doing something about this, and it's going to take some work. I hope that you'll work with me on that because it's going to take some creativity. Then Caliph referenced the fact that little has changed with regard to CBD at the FDA since he left 6 years ago. Caliph, as a doctor, has actually prescribed, he's noted as prescribing CBD or cannabinoid-based medicines before, and he's definitely a proponent of this. I'll go ahead into the marijuana moment aspect of it a little bit later, but we'll go on to the next headline where you got Dr. Oz slams efforts to legalize marijuana, claiming it will make people not want to work. And let's get right into that. I did not know this part of it when coming up to the article, but Pennsylvania Senate candidate Dr. Mehmet Oz, he's up for Pennsylvania Senate, voiced his opposition to legalizing recreational marijuana in the state, claiming that it'll make people lose motivation to go to work. He's quoted as saying, there are not enough Pennsylvanians to work in Pennsylvania, so giving them pot so they stay at home is not, I don't think, an ideal move. It's not immediately clear how Dr. Oz came to this conclusion, as the unemployment rate in Pennsylvania was 4.9% in March per the state's latest figures. Also, Oz also warned against fostering an emotional addiction to marijuana. I don't want young people to think that they have to smoke a joint to get out of the house in the morning, he said. We need to get Pennsylvanians back to work. You've got to give them their mojo, and I don't want marijuana to be a hindrance to that, the celebrity doctor added. He expressed concern that people could be driving or operating heavy machinery under the influence of marijuana, or as he put it, when they've been taking their fourth joint of the day. Wow. Let's talk about it. He said it. Let's talk about it. This is one of those things as to where, holy moly. Hey, and for all my regulars that are already in the comments, good morning to everybody. Sorry about the last couple of days. Been having a couple issues on the personal side, and realistically have no one to fill in on the live side for me. So, hey, thanks for being here today. Danny Tomlin, Laura Camp, Stephen Woods. Great to see you. Little Mac 86 is always here. Timothy's the Maddies. What up? Let's see here. Yeah, good morning to everybody. Good morning to everybody. And, Laura Camp, yep, I agree with you on that one. Let's see. Little Mac 86, Delta 8, the almost weed. It was funny. There's a little clip. And if you guys don't mind me setting it up here real quick, I'll go ahead and cue it up. let's see if I can get this going here real quick here. Let's see here. We're gonna go ahead and get this queued up. And play this little clip from the Ninth Circuit Court ruling where it refers to basically Delta 8 as near beer. We're going to go ahead and put that on. Apologies here. Share screen. We got that going. Home tab. That's the one we want. And here we go.
Valid. But that brings me to the issue that I think I wanted to spend more time addressing, which is the legality of the underlying Delta 8 products themselves, because the trademark, of course, for two reasons we need to know. A trademark must be used, lawfully used in commerce in order to be valid. That was a burden that AK Futures had in seeking the injunction. Also, the court itself is limited under equity to protect lawful goods, not illegal goods.
On the lawfulness issue, it looked to me as though this new kind of marijuana, basically, it's kind of like near beer. I don't know if, I think before the constitutional amendment repealing the Prohibition Amendment went into effect, the Roosevelt administration legalized near beer. It was very low proof beer, and they still sell it in Charlottesville, so the college kids can get near beer, or at least they did when I was there. And it looks like this less than or equal to, what is it, 0.3% THC is the near beer of marijuana, and it's legal under this farm bill. You say that, well, it's not what the regulations say, but it looks like that's what the statute says.
Well, the statute is referring to the concentration of Delta 9 THC, right? It says that and it's not a near beer, right? The point of the 0.3% Delta 9 THC is to eliminate anything psychoactive. This was the farm bill.
But if it meets that standard, it's hemp, and if it's hemp under the regs and the statute and the guidance, it's legal. I mean, I've read through the statute and all of the regulations, and frankly, I don't understand where your argument comes from that the product which they say they're selling is illegal, because it seems to directly meet the definition of hemp, which the statute, the regulations, and the DEA have said are directly removed from the definition of marijuana as a Schedule I. So explain to me what language in either the statute or the regulation you can point to say this particular product, as it's claimed to be, is a Schedule I, as opposed to hemp, which is not a Schedule I.
Well, the DEA has it listed on its Schedule I, Delta 8, and it did that over the summer prior to this taking place. It put Delta 8 on the schedule because it is a psychoactive drug, and what happened is somebody figured out that you can actually take enough Delta 8 out of hemp, or whatever they're actually taking it out of, we don't really know, and you can get enough of it to make it psychoactive, which was not something that was previously imagined. So the
Well, you know what? So they're talking about it being an accidental loophole, and essentially, when you're talking about Congress and the Hemp Bill, the Farm Bill Act of 2018, essentially you're looking at something as to where Congress said all derivatives of the cannabis plant from the hemp plant are legal, right? And while there's only trace amounts of Delta 8 found in the cannabinoid profile of basically the hemp plant, it's still found in the profile. So basically, again, what the Ninth Circuit Court is saying is that regardless of whether it was intended or not, the rules say this, and we're not going to go ahead and administer our opinion, as you saw the other attorney trying to fight on behalf of their trademark case there. that they know better than Congress who drafted these rules. So we've been talking about this for a while on the channel. It comes down to the fact that um, really these laws have to be uh, looked at. And again, we're running over the horses in this illustration I always like to use as far as the horses in front of the cart. We're running over the horses all over the place as it comes down to these federal policies and that kind of stuff. So it really is being thrown out right here in front of this as to where we've talked about how the guidance of the FDA or Congress is needed to get these things going. And long and the short, you're seeing these trademark issues turn into that of issues about legality behind the cannabinoids and or the companies that are selling these different cannabinoids. And it really is going to be interesting to see what's going on. So, hey, real quick, I want to take a minute to show some love to people in the Trichomes community app. Wanted to say what's up to Bile 420. Jason Kitamura, good to see you, sir. Mr. Wendell, good to see you guys as well. Everybody that's joining from the Trichomes community app, gotta love that. I know everybody here on YouTube, we've talked about it before, and that's going to give me a second to throw this up here as I'm talking about it. Please be sure to like and subscribe. It helps people find this show and what we're talking about. Again, we've been fighting restrictions here on YouTube. Pretty much every show has been restricted in use and given the restricted title there, and so we've had to overturn, I guess. What's that called when you go back after it is call for an appeal. We've appealed every one of them and won every one of our appeals, so that's great. But realistically, for every new person that shows up to the conversation and is part of this conversation, I got to thank everybody who's been here from the beginning, helping us get along and participating in the comments. All that kind of stuff really helps us be seen and get seen. So thanks a lot for participating in the conversation. But back to it. Hey, we're here, and let's see. Daniel Thornbeck, quote unquote, we really don't know exactly. They don't know anything. Fools, all of them. Yes, it's one of those things where you got in this particular conversation surrounding the Ninth Court of Appeals. It really is kind of an awesome thing here as to where they're upholding what Congress has done, and within that, right, wrong, or indifferent, we're upholding an act of which the law says it's legal because it's a derivative of the hemp plant. Now you've got people from the Ninth Circuit comparing it to near beer. Let's see where this argument goes. There's going to be a lot of people on the hemp side of things fighting for this to stay legal because you know what? There's not much of a market for it. We've been talking about that on the other article there, where essentially the FDA commissioners calling for finding a path forward for CBD, and really that's a path forward for all things. Let's call it hemp related, if you will, because essentially you have the hemp plant, and it was the Farm Bill Act, and again, this the Farm Bill Act covers all derivatives, everything that comes from that plant. So Delta 8 is involved in this conversation. It's really going to be interesting to see how the FDA urges or speaks to Congress about what they need to do next, because Congress is really who's in charge of what comes next. FDA just kind of rules about it, and they try to find out, the dangers behind it or what it's good for, or they look at it from the perspective of mass public consumption. So hey, I missed quite a few people on the live chat just because we got a live updated chat and it scrolls up. But I wanted to say, what is your pH? Good morning, Senor Mota, Stony Tony, Rooted. Good to see you, and Twitchy Wicked. Good morning. Good morning. Great to see all of you on the app there. So thank you very much for joining as well. And, let's see. Ron Valley says legal in Illinois, but held captive by dispensaries, too high of startup costs because of limited amount of stores on purpose. Of course, it's a high cost of entry to the cannabis industry, and they talk about things such as social equity and that kind of stuff, and not seeing how that's allowing for the people who should be able to participate in this industry, to participate. I do believe that really this barrier of entry affects a lot of people. So yeah, I feel you there. Um, let's see. There we go. Danny Tomlin said legalize all cannabis and that would solve a lot of the problems and then can focus on something else. Hey, that, for all of us here, that would be such a bad thing. It's again, give it to the states to regulate, adopt policies, that type of deal. But decriminalizing or legalizing on a federal level would solve a lot of this, and realistically turn it into something that people can choose to do on their own because they're adults, just like alcohol. And I think self-regulating cannabis for a lot of people is going to be a lot easier than self-regulating with alcohol because of the nature of the effects. You know, if you ask Dr. Oz, he thinks that all stoners are going to be found on the couch, not going to work. Um, let's see. One study. Um, so yeah. Anyway, back to Dr. Oz. That kind of thing is in Pennsylvania. You got to understand he's running for a Senate seat, and that's one of those um, things that if you're in Pennsylvania, look out for who you're voting for because he just said it loud and clear what his feelings are about it. Let's see. Let's see. All right. All right. Republicans. DRS medal. Republican politicians are sadly still of reefer madness. There's quite a few of them, but it seems in recent months, especially during this midterm election type season, you're seeing quite a few of them come out as maybe more of proponents for cannabis. And the one thing I'd like to point out is in the story we just showed when we're talking about the Ninth Circuit Court is that it was noted that all three of these judges were appointed by Republican presidents. So, you know, um, it, it as much as they're just following the law, right, and they're actually doing a good job at doing that, it seems like a foot forward. It seems like a foot forward that they're actually attacking this with common sense and administering rulings based upon what is put out by Congress, what is deemed to be what Congress said within the bill that they passed. So to have Republican appointed judges that are agreeing with the use of Delta 8 seems like a pretty decent step forward. What did I miss? Little Mac 86, I try to stay away from the red and blue, Bloods and Crips. But Oz is as red as Crayola crayon and won't stand for the devil's lettuce. It seems that this statement might be true. Um, seems that this might be true. Yeah, he's a TV doctor, and I can't remember if it came out that he's actual doctor or if he's just a regular doctor. But it's excuse me, a non-licensed doctor. But he definitely carries some weight because of the fact that he was on TV, and people know his name. So really, I don't know how well this is going to bode for him in an era where I truthfully believe these next elections, both locally, the midterm elections and the 2024 elections, are going to have an element of who's for cannabis. Cannabis proponents, I think, are going to do overall a lot better in these next elections. And Dr. Oz coming out and saying what he's saying about being against it and calling all stoners basically lazy, right? It's like, hey, what he said, expressed concern that people could be driving or operating heavy machinery under the influence of marijuana, or as he put it, when they've been taking their fourth joint of the day, when you've been doing the marijuana. Uh, Again, it's almost like he's not paying attention to the stuff we talk about on this channel, as to where look at all the drivers that have been suspended over the last 3 years, 119,000 drivers based upon marijuana analysis, urinalysis, that said they had partaken in cannabis. He's not paying attention to the fact that New Jersey, the police officers and heavy machinery operators from Amazon, all that kind of stuff, they're going to remain drug tested as per policies for health and safety issues, for public health and safety. And he's literally out there just spewing rhetoric, right? I don't know if it's quite marijuana madness, but or reefer madness, but it's bullshit just the same. It's ridiculous. Well, after I get done smoking my fourth joint, I got to go jump in a semi and drive down the 91. Anyway, sorry, I won't go too far into that just because it's ridiculous and everybody here in the comments knows it. Um, and yeah, let's see. Hey, Joey 420, no problem. I was gone for a couple of days, but sorry I'm late. I was out in the garden. How am I doing today? I'm doing real well. You know, week had a couple personal things to attend to on Wednesday and Thursday, so I thank everybody for being here with us on a Friday. You know, it's nice and overcast out here in Southern California, so it lets me open up the windows a little bit more as per the contrast on the lighting and stuff, so you guys get a bit more of a clear view of the freeway. But things are going great. You know, I live in a state where it's legal, and not to brag, but you know, it's something that I got in trouble for my whole life. And realistically, to be in a state where I don't have to look over my shoulder when it pertains to personal use, whether it be medical or recreational, I do believe for both, I use for both. Um, it's nice to not have to look over the shoulder, and that's, you know, it doesn't stop here. It stops when people in all states have rules that allow for people not to look over the shoulder and not to worry about having to go to jail over a plant. And that's what this conversation and continued conversation is going to be about. So again, thanks a lot for joining this part of it, because realistically, this is how we get the word out, person by person, comment by comment, hearing everybody's voice. So again, thanks a lot. Um, yeah, let's see. Yeah, Laura, you said it's worse because people listen to the fool. That's the thing with, again, these conversations. We're gonna reach out to people, and right now the conversation, it's like he's not watching TV. The conversation is full of proponents, both sides of the aisle, that are smart enough to understand when the pendulum is swinging. That essentially, cannabis is coming around, and it's time to get out of the way for the research that allows for us to know a little bit more about the plant that we choose to consume, right? And people have to get used to that. So, you know, again, Dr. Oz, at this juncture, I'm hoping that basically it's something that people are able to see where his motives are, and ultimately be able to vote with their conscience on this, and understand that if it comes down to, you know, in Pennsylvania, the leaders leading your state, if cannabis is near and dear to you, please examine what Dr. Oz's motives are outside of cannabis. Hey, there's more to politics, obviously, than cannabis. It's important to us, but when it comes down to politics, there's a lot of other issues on the table. And so, you know, I'm never going to tell anybody which way to vote. And yeah, I sit right in the middle of the aisle looking up both ways. But you've got to realize that when it comes down to cannabis, and this being a big issue for a lot of people, both the health and wellness, the issue of medical access, and then the issue of keeping people out of prison, this is a big issue. And really it has to do with the human condition and people such as ourselves, utilizing this without the worry of losing our lives. So, yeah, let's just see what that does for Dr. Oz, because yeah, we're going to put it back out there. And speaking of which, um, Bio 420 on the app says we got to stop electing TV personalities. Politicians are bad enough. We don't need even more unqualified people making decisions. Gotta agree with that one. Mr. Wendell, Katie from Kentucky Hempworks fought hard for the Farm Bill Act and all things hemp. Such a warrior. Katie from Kentucky Hempworks, actually first met her via TikTok, and yeah, she is a passionate warrior when it comes down to it. I know she's been fighting the good fight from inside of Kentucky and doing some things. We'll have to check back in with her, see if we can't get her to be a guest on the show. I know we've been talking for a while, so I'll check back in with her. I think she's even on our app, the Trichomes Community app. So if you're on the app, give her a follow. Let's see here. Chelsea Marie, how's it going today? It's going great. I'm here with you guys talking about what I love to talk about. Let's see. Yeah, Timothy DeMatteis, it's politics. It's good publicity stunt for attention. I imagine you're talking about Dr. Oz again. And really, the other side of the coin is people who don't participate in these conversations and aren't proponents of cannabis. And for those people and for his voting constituency, it is a publicity stunt, because there are other people who aren't in favor of cannabis. It's just the smaller side of the percentage now. It used to have a skew polls, and we were the minority. But when it comes down to medical marijuana, of which Pennsylvania has, but recreational marijuana, it's coming as to the fact that we hold the numbers nowadays. So, for better or worse, who gives a shit what he said? Because so essentially it allows us to know where his policy, where his thoughts on that policy lie, and I think that's better for everybody, especially people of Pennsylvania who might in fact want the recreational laws that are up for vote right now. So with that, we're gonna just go ahead and say that Dr. Oz is. We're glad that you put it out there. Thanks. Donkey limit. Is it just me, or does anyone else feel the need to start cleaning their house when stoned? This couch myth, I don't know. When it boils down to it, for me personally, I have all sorts of different reactions to the different types of cannabis I have. I mean, I definitely have experienced couch lock. I do prefer indicas. It's because I'm a high stress, high anxiety person, and so I do like to come down a little bit. But when I do hit something that's sativa related or has the qualities of what we know as a sativa, it does get my juices flowing. I don't drink coffee, but I get the jitters when sativas come around. I get sweatier palms and that kind of stuff, and it I, it definitely gives me more energy. But I'm not sure if it's the constructive energy. I think of cleaning my house or doing that type of thing. But that being said, there's definitely mixes in there for me that put me into good tangents where I like to read. I like to go over um, things, and I really get into deep rabbit holes a lot when I consume. And so if I'm reading the news or reading about different policies or new cannabinoid research developments coming out, I can definitely find myself a couple hours into a research gig after having consumed maybe a bowl or two before starting. So I definitely I understand that there are all different types of people and reactions to this. So, I mean, the thing is that we have to realize that they're alluding to who they want to allude to get the message across. And we can't be defensive of that. All we can do is continue to show them that just because people consume cannabis doesn't mean they're going to go out there and cause an accident. Just because people consume cannabis doesn't mean they're not going to show up for work or go consume 4 joints before they drive a big rig and plow into everybody, just like Dr. Oz said. So again, let's everybody here is a big proponent, and ultimately I do believe lives their life with cannabis involved. Yet you're here every morning and we're talking. and that's great stuff. So again, thanks for being part of the process. It's shows like this, it's people like you that allow for the conversation to expand. And really, today we're all going to have the knowledge that the FDA is working on stuff for CBD, that the Ninth Circuit Court just allowed for Delta 8 products, calling them legal under the current form of the Farm Bill Act presented by Congress, and that Dr. Oz is an idiot. So happy Friday, everybody. That's a lot on the plate. And while Congress and federal court appeals and seem to be making steps forward, Dr. Oz seems to be taking a huge step back. And we'll go ahead and let him do that. Just know that if you're in Pennsylvania, read up on who you're voting for if he's one of the people that you were choosing for a candidate. Let's see here. Ton of stuff going on here. And you guys are talking, and let's see. Ron Valley said lots of folks don't know that in Europe, coffee shops serve hashish and pot with coffee. Shit, ain't that cool? Absolutely, Ron. Amsterdam's been one of the leading cities over there in doing this with their coffee shops and that kind of deal. It'll be interesting to see how consumption lounges and that kind of stuff expand through the U.S. based upon what's going on. I know we've got some in Vegas, a couple here in California. We're going to be fighting for one here at this property here. So that'll be kind of cool. We'll keep you guys updated as far as that goes. I got a couple licenses downstairs here in this building. So really looking forward to showing you guys some new programming involving this and the progression we have here at the Trichomes building as well. Let's see. All right. Let's see. DRS Metal. Cannabis is not a polarizing issue like guns and abortion. I have to agree with you on that. While there's certain people who, are still under the guises of reefer madness and aren't open to learning new facts, the polls show that when it comes down to cannabis and medically speaking anyway, 9 out of 10 people say it should be allowed. And the polarizing aspect of it is dying every day. The reefer madness aspect is being ruled out by common sense, and people like ourselves talking to other community people from our community, neighbors and that kind of stuff, and normalizing the conversation. 10 years ago, I was one of the youngest parents in the room with my kids, and my daughter was going to high school. She's now 25, but 10 years ago she was 15, and I was in the cannabis industry, and I didn't feel comfortable letting people know about it. But today, people ask what I do, and I tell them I'm in the cannabis industry. I'm lucky because I'm here in California, but I'm telling them this, and realistically, again, this is the normalization of the conversation, and it really relies on people like you guys who are in the comments participating in being knowledgeable about what's actually going on and spreading the word. So got to thank everybody for being here today. I ran a little extra just because these topics are actually pretty big topics. We are going to be doing the Friday weekly roll up. I'm going to throw up the please be sure to like, subscribe, and share as I'm talking about this. But we are going to be going over the weekly roll up. Jason will be joining me today. We are going to be switching that from the federal marijuana updates and that kind of thing to basically something a little bit different. With the roll up, we're going to be getting into the community, both on our app and then on some of the stuff that we post on IG and that kind of thing, and going over that a little bit more. Also asking for more comments and topics from the conversation here on the chat. So really looking forward to a little bit of a new format with the weekly roll up, and catching up with you guys with Jason over here, and he'll be joining in the office. But I want to say thank you to everybody who watches and helps spread this message, because I know that your participation helps the views go on and that kind of stuff, and really helps us be found and the conversation spread. So again, thanks a lot for that. Happy Friday. If we don't see you at the weekly roll up, have a great weekend. Be well, be safe, and really look forward to catching up with you guys on Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel. Be here at 7:30, and I look forward to seeing everybody again. Little Mac, Laura Camp, Joey 420, DRS Metal, Timothy DeMattis, everybody over on the Trichomes Community app. Thank you all very much. Talk to you soon. Have a great weekend, and we'll go from there. Talk to you soon.